went on a date with a super rich guy, but when came home, it was emptied. What have I done? Hello to my Reddit family. I am Amber, age 26, female. I have been dating Derek, age 27, male, for the past 3 years. Derek and I had a normal relationship, and just like any other couple, we had our fights and arguments, but we would always get back together. Recently, I did something that led to him disappearing from my life without any actual issue. I did not know that going out on a date with a rich guy would be such a big deal for Derek that he would disappear on me. I never expected that one mistake would lead to the end of our relationship. Derek's reaction took me by surprise, and I'm left with shock with the way Derek reacted to all of this. To give you some context, I met Derek while I was working as a model on one of the advertisement campaigns for a big brand. He was one of the models, but something about him made me curious to get to know him. We ended up striking up a conversation during the break and discovered we had a lot in common outside of modeling. Our shared interests sparked a connection that eventually led to us exchanging numbers. Our friendship quickly blossomed into something more, and we soon started dating. Our relationship had been filled with laughter, adventures, and a deep emotional connection that I never expected to find due to my erratic work hours. Derek has become my best friend and partner in crime, and I couldn't have been happier. Our relationship has taught me the importance of taking chances and being open to unexpected connections. Derek has shown me a love that goes beyond the superficial, and I am grateful for the genuine bond we share. As we both were models, we did not have a regular pay and had to rely on getting as many projects as possible to be able to afford all the bills and everything. We did not have an issue with it as we both were successful models and had plenty of projects in our kitty. Things changed drastically after the pandemic hit the world. Due to the pandemic, we both had been struggling to keep up with the expenses, so we decided to move in together as it would help us share the financial burden. Initially, it was more like living with a roommate as we hardly interfered in each other's business. We were able to keep up with the expenses and the limited savings that we had. But very soon, we started having petty fights about who washes the dishes, who cooks food, etc., etc. I realized that Derek was only a good face and did not like participating in any of the house chores. Also, I hated the way he managed his money. He did not have a concept of saving money for emergencies or having some money stashed away for bad times. I found it frustrating to constantly pick up after him and cover for his lack of responsibility. Eventually, I had to have a conversation with him about our expectations and boundaries when it came to sharing responsibilities and managing finances. I told him how we needed to find a better way to split responsibilities. He did agree to mend his ways and make sure he takes up his share of responsibilities. I was satisfied and happy and thought that maybe he wasn't aware of how to coexist with another person. I was hoping to see some changes in his habits and see the positive impact of our conversation. Unfortunately, it became clear that our financial values and priorities were too different for us to continue living together harmoniously. I was feeling anxious and overwhelmed with the amount of never-ending tasks around the house. Also, Derek was not the kind of person from whom I could expect any kind of help or responsibility to do household chores. It became increasingly apparent that our living situation was not sustainable, as our differing financial values and priorities caused constant tension. I realized that to maintain my own well-being, I needed to find a new living arrangement that aligned better with my needs and expectations. I knew that I just had to hold my breath till this pandemic was over and everything was back to normal, so that I could then ask Derek to leave. I knew in my head that this relationship was over from my end, and I just had to wait for the right moment to break the news to Derek. It was clear that prioritizing my own mental health and happiness was crucial in making this decision, even if it meant having difficult conversations with Derek about our future living arrangements. It was evident that there was a cold and unsaid uneasiness between us. I knew that delaying the inevitable conversation was only prolonging both of our suffering, but I also needed to ensure that I was in the right headspace to handle the aftermath of ending the relationship. It was time to gather my courage and have an honest discussion with Derek about moving forward separately. With the pandemic coming to an end and the world slowly getting back to normal, the industry was opening to resume work. I had an audition for a role in one of the television series that was going to be streamed on Netflix. It was a big deal as it would mean that I would have a substantial amount of money which would help me with my finances, and probably I would be able to move out and not live with Derek any longer. I made sure that I was well prepared and dressed appropriately for my audition. I did not tell Derek about it as I did not want to have another argument over petty things and ruin my mood. He was still sleeping when I walked out of the door, and I was grateful for his partying habits, which would help me get out of the door without trying to deal with him. As I left the house, I couldn't help but feel relieved that I wouldn't have to face Derek's negativity before my big moment. I knew that focusing on my performance was crucial, and avoiding any unnecessary stress was key. I arrived at the audition feeling confident and ready to showcase my talent. Walking into the audition room, I felt a sense of empowerment, knowing that I had taken control of my own happiness and success. After the first round, we were asked to wait for the result of shortlisted candidates. I could see that there were a lot of people who had applied for various roles. I started interacting with one of the guys auditioning for the main role. His name was Darius, and would be a pretty face for the main role if that is what they were looking for. He kept telling me that the audition was just a formality, as he already knew that the main part was his. I wondered where he got all that confidence from, or maybe he was just bluffing to make sure that he lessens the competition by spreading these false rumors that would help him get the part. I was done with the look test and had to wait another 2 hours for the next round. We were asked to go for lunch and come back after 2 hours. I decided to go to a nearby cafe and wait there. As I was walking, Darius, who I was talking to earlier, asked me if I wanted to join him for lunch. Since I had nothing better to do, I said why not? It would be better to pass these 2 hours talking to someone instead of sipping a coffee all by myself. He asked me to wait at the main entrance as he had to get his car from the parking lot. It was more than 10 minutes and I was still waiting for him to get his car out. There was a Porsche that kept honking and I tried to make way for it. I was about to lose it when the window rolled and Darius asked me to get in. I couldn't believe that he was driving a Porsche. I quickly got inside and we drove to some fancy restaurant for lunch. We spoke on various topics during lunch. Darius told me about his family history and how he was related to the makers of the series. He mentioned how proud he was of his heritage and the accomplishments of his ancestors. It was fascinating to know how much of a snob he was. It seemed like he was rubbing it in my face that he came from a privileged family and did not have to worry about anything in life. I tried to keep up the facade of me being interested in him to use it to my advantage. However, deep down, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy towards his seemingly perfect life. Despite my envy, I knew that maintaining a positive relationship with Darius could potentially benefit me in the future. We came back for the next round of auditions after 2 hours. I got his number as he mentioned that he would be able to get me a good part in the series as he liked me. He asked me if I was single, and I lied that I wasn't seeing anyone right now. Obviously, there was no way I was going to mention Derek as I had been meaning to dump him as soon as I got a decent project to work on. He asked me if I would have a problem going out on a date with him this evening after the auditions. I figured why not? I could just make an excuse telling Derek that the auditions went for a long time, not that I owed him an explanation. As we chatted more, I found myself genuinely interested in getting to know him better. He was a nice guy behind all that facade of being born with a golden spoon. I decided to go for it and agreed to the date after the auditions. I was pleasantly surprised by how much I enjoyed our conversation and felt a connection forming. It seemed like taking a chance on this new situation might be worth it after all. I was excited to see where things could go with Derek and felt optimistic about the potential for a meaningful connection. Opening myself up to new possibilities felt refreshing and invigorating. Darius took me to a Michelin star restaurant for dinner. I knew that it would be very difficult to get a reservation last minute at such restaurants. Moreover, we were seated in the private section with the view of the entire city. I couldn't believe that I struck gold by talking to the right person. My day couldn't have been much more perfect than this. I was glad to have made the right choice and could see that this one decision could change my life forever. Darius was not only loaded, but also the fact that he was interested in me was something I could make use of. The night took a very romantic turn as Darius was more and more interested in getting to know me as a person. I wanted to make sure that I present the best version of myself so that he gets blown away and starts dating me instantly. I was thrilled at the thought of potentially starting a relationship with someone as rich and handsome as Darius. I knew that this could be the beginning of something truly special. I wanted to make a lasting impression on him and show him all the qualities that make me unique. I was excited about the potential for a new beginning with someone who seemed genuinely interested in me. I was ready to seize the opportunity and see where things could go with Darius. I knew that I had to balance between being interested and playing hard to keep him hooked. Very soon, the heat turned on and led to passionate kisses between us. I knew that I had to stop before it ended in just a one-night stand. I stopped and asked him if we would take it slow. I made sure that he dropped me a little far away from my apartment as I did not want to run into Derek. I kissed Darius goodbye and told him we will talk soon. I walked towards the apartment and saw that the lights were out. There was no way in hell that Derek would have slept so early. I unlocked the apartment and switched on the lights to see that the house was empty. I couldn't believe that we got robbed, and that too in a locked house. I was pretty sure that I unlocked the door just now, so there was no way that everything would be missing without even having the house unlocked. My heart sank as I realized that not only were my valuables gone, but my sense of security had been shattered. I quickly called the police to report the burglary and began to assess the extent of the damage. I started scanning each and every room to make sure that it was not a prank. Even if it was, there was no possible way to shove all the furniture and the other stuff into any room and make it look like a robbery. I started calling Derek in the meantime to let him know that the house was completely empty. He kept declining my calls, which made me even more frustrated than I already was. I knew that he was irresponsible, but he should at least pick my calls to see if it was something urgent. I was too stressed out, so I decided to cool myself by splashing cold water on my face to calm down my nerves. I saw a note stuck on the bathroom mirror in Derek's handwriting which said, "Hope you had fun today, bitch. See you never again." I could not believe what I was reading. I kept pinching myself so that I could wake up from this horrible dream. Unfortunately, it wasn't working as it was happening in real time. My heart sank as I realized Derek had left me without any explanation. The note on the mirror was a cruel reminder of his cowardice. I quickly realized that Derek was the one who moved everything out of the house. It was not a robbery as I was assuming. He left me feeling hurt and confused. I knew I had to confront the situation head on and figure out what had gone wrong in our relationship for him to take such drastic steps without even a discussion. Derek had emptied the entire house, not even leaving a single rug of cloth or a cup in the kitchen. I was sitting on the floor with the note in my hand, unable to even process what had happened. My day started on such a good note and everything was going so fine. Actually, it was going great till I came home. I was left with no clothes, nothing to make food in, nothing to sleep on, and no toiletries. It was so late at night that there was not much I could do apart from trying to keep calling Derek and asking him what the hell happened and why he did this. What was the point of all this? Somewhere I could even make up the scenario where it must have owed money to people, and there's a scheme in and took away everything. That was the only logical explanation that I could think of right now. I still do not understand the note that he left. I was the one taking care of most of the finances in this house, so why the hell would he want to get rid of me? I was the one who was fed up with him and his spending habits. I need to figure out what his note meant and why he would leave me in this situation. Maybe he thought I was the one causing financial issues and wanted to start fresh without me. I guess I'll have to wait until he decides to come back and explain himself. It's frustrating not knowing the full story, but maybe it's for the best if he's out of my life for good. Maybe he felt guilty about his spending habits and wanted to protect you from any financial burden. Or perhaps he thought that by leaving, he was giving you the freedom to live your life without him holding you back. I tried sleeping, but as you know, it's impossible to sleep on a cold and hard floor. I decided to write a post that would help me kill time and also help me understand how things changed so drastically. I was the one who wanted to leave Derek and go my separate way. But plot twist, before I could even get to the point of kicking Derek out, he emptied the house by leaving a note which did not give me any context at all. I'm hoping that anyone out there who has read my story so far would have a clue as to what happened and why. I'm unable to make sense of all this because it sounds crazy. Why would a guy who literally had to do nothing around the house and pile on his girlfriend for everything just up and leave? I would request if anyone has an idea about what would have gotten into Derek to just leave without an explanation. The note he left does not really give much perspective into his actions. I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what could have triggered this sudden departure. It's hard to understand why someone would leave without any explanation, especially after being so dependent on their partner. Hoping to get a few explanations from you guys regarding the actions of Derek and give me some logical reasoning behind it. Also, please suggest what would be the course of action for me going forward. Thank you for taking the time to read so far. Awaiting your suggestions and responses. Update. Hello all. I am back with a better understanding as to what happened after I was left with an empty house without an explanation by Derek. The next few days were me trying to get in touch with Derek to figure out what led to his sudden disappearance. Despite multiple attempts, Derek remained unreachable, leaving me feeling frustrated and confused about his unexpected absence. I couldn't shake the feeling that something serious must have happened for him to cut off all communication so abruptly. Why did he have to take off with all the stuff in the house? It was established that he was not in trouble, and there was no logical explanation for his disappearance. As the days went by, my worry for Derek's well-being only grew stronger, and I couldn't help but wonder if there was more to his disappearance than met the eye. I decided to reach out to mutual friends in hopes of gaining any insight into his sudden vanishing act. However, none of them had heard from Derek either, leaving me even more puzzled and concerned. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a deeper reason behind his sudden disappearance, and I was determined to uncover the truth. Despite my efforts to piece together the puzzle of Derek's disappearance, I found myself hitting dead ends at every turn. The mystery surrounding his vanishing act only intensified, fueling my determination to unravel the truth behind his sudden absence. I then tried my second best option, which was Darius. He instantly picked up my call and started flirting with me. I did not want to show him that I was desperate for the role, but I tried to convey that point without making it seem that way. Darius asked me if I was willing to meet him, as he would like to get to know me better. I was, of course, over the moon. I knew that Darius may be that one person who could get me out of the mess I was in. He told me that he would pick me up in the morning and ask me to keep the entire day free because he was planning something big and wanted to make sure that I was completely available and present to enjoy those moments, as he wanted to spend as much time with me as he could. I told him that of course I would be available, and I'm also keen on getting to know him better. After talking to him, I quickly ordered a dress suitable for going out tomorrow with Darius. He picked me up at 7:30 in the morning and told me that it was going to be a really long day. I was obviously excited and started thinking ahead of myself that maybe this could lead to something more than just friendship. Hell, I was praying for it to be more than just friendship. We drove to a cabin in the woods, which was quite cozy and romantic. We spent the entire day getting to know each other and telling childhood stories. We even went hunting and set up a camp by the lake. I had the most romantic date in a very long time. Things between us got heated when we were alone in the forest. The chemistry between us was sizzling hot and undeniable. I was very confident that I had smitten Darius, and very soon he would want to officially date me. It was all almost midnight when he dropped me home. I would have offered for him to come inside if I had the furniture at home. I lied to him that I would be moving out of here soon and the place was a mess, so I would like to invite him to my new place once I have it set up. He told me that there was no rush and that I could take my time until I felt that it was safe for me to call him home. He said that he was going to wait patiently without expecting too much. I thanked him for his understanding, kissed goodbye, and started walking to the door. I was trying to unlock the door, but it kept insisting that the password was incorrect. I pulled out my phone to double-check it and see if I could get it unlocked using the app on my phone. When I pulled out my phone, I could see calls from my landlord that I missed due to bad service in the forest. She left a message saying that since we had broken the lease without prior notice, she had choice but to not give us the deposit back, and was going to make sure that it would be difficult for us to find another house on lease easily. I did not understand what she meant by breaking the lease without prior notice. I was about to call her to tell her that it might be all a misunderstanding, but it was past midnight, so I would have to wait till tomorrow to clear up any miscommunication that had happened, which led to her thinking that the lease was canceled. I had no place to spend the night at, so I decided to stay at a hotel for tonight and figure it out tomorrow, as I was too tired to deal with it right now. I called my landlord the next morning. She told me that she was very upset by the way I handled this entire situation. If I was unhappy with the place, I should have mentioned it to her and not let my boyfriend call and abuse her. If we were vacating the house, then we should have done it by letting her know, and it was a bad thing to do it without giving her a heads up. I tried to explain to her that I was no longer with my boyfriend and he was doing this out of spite. She told me that she would have believed me if I at least had my clothes in the house, but the fact that it was empty does make me look like a liar. I told her that there is something I could do to get the house back since I had nowhere else to go, but she told me that she had already found a new tenant who would be moving in tomorrow, and there was nothing she could do about it. I thanked her for understanding my situation and not giving bad reviews to me as a tenant, so that at least I could afford to find another house soon. I asked if she could at least give me some time to find a new place, but she insisted that the new tenant was already scheduled to move in today, so there was nothing she could do to help me. I left feeling grateful for her understanding, but also worried about finding a new home on such short notice. I did not get any part in the series, which came as a shocker to me. I had been in constant touch with Darius, and he never let me know that I might not get any role. I kept asking him about the details of the next rounds, but he kept dismissing me, telling me that I did not have to worry about any of it, as he would take care of it. One of my friends who had also auditioned called me to let me know that she got a peripheral role. She was sure that I would be one of the main characters and wanted to know what character I was playing. When I told her that I didn't get a part so far, she started laughing. She told me that she would keep it a secret if I did not want to reveal it yet. I did not understand why she was being so adamant that I got one of the main characters. She told me to stop acting as she already knew that this series was being directed by one of Derek's very good friends, so there was no way I wasn't going to be in the series. I also knew this friend that she was talking about. She laughed at me and said I could continue denying all I wanted, but she already knew that Darius was going to play the main lead, and Derek was the second lead of the series. I was speechless. I had no clue that Darius was Derek's friend. Is that the reason why Darius approached me on purpose and kept toying with me? He intentionally kept me busy so that Derek could execute his plans of emptying the house and calling my landlord. All this while they were just playing around with me, and I was so stupid to fall in their trap. As I processed this new information, I couldn't help but feel a mix of surprise and anger at the elaborate prank they had pulled off. It was clear that they had been testing me all this while. The sparks between me and Darius were not genuine, and I couldn't believe I had been so easily fooled. The betrayal stung, but it also made me realize the importance of being more cautious in the future. I kept replaying the day of the audition in my head to know what went wrong. Until we had lunch, Darius really wanted to give me the part, but when I told him I was single, that's when things changed. Apparently, he called Derek and let him know that his girlfriend, for whom he had literally begged his friend to get her the part, was about to ditch him and flirt away with his friend. That is when they decided to keep me busy and saw that they could make sure that I would get the shock of my life once I reached home. I had no idea that all this was going on behind my back. When I finally arrived home, I was completely blindsided by the betrayal and deception that had taken place. It was a painful realization that those closest to me had orchestrated such a hurtful situation. I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief as I processed the situation. It was a harsh reminder that not everyone has your best interests at heart, even those you trust the most. Within a week, they announced the new series with the entire cast. They had a grand event to introduce the fresh faces playing each character. I sat in my new cramped apartment watching it live and wondering to myself that I could have been one of the main leads. I mean, if and only if I haven't flirted with Darius and told him about Derek, things would have been completely different. But I don't blame me for hiding the fact that I was single, as I was planning to leave Derek once I had a stable income. There was no love left between us, and we were always bickering. I wanted to get out of it before it became toxic. I still don't understand what I did so wrong for both these guys to ruin my life and career. Was Derek testing me in all this by not letting me know about Darius and see if it was worth investing his time and money on? I really can't make anything of what he did. He was a coward to not even try and confront me after everything that he did. As a marketing strategy, they released a short story to get the audience hooked to the show. I couldn't believe that they made a short story out of the scenario of me flirting with Darius and made sure to use my original name so that everybody in the industry knew that this was about me. No wonder that no one wanted to work with me anymore. The girls gave me bitchy looks and commented to stay away from their boyfriends and husbands, as they thought that I was here just to snatch away their men, as if I had nothing better to do in life. The tension on set was palpable, and I could feel the walls closing in on me. I was removed from the projects that I was previously a part of. I felt unfairly judged and ostracized, leading to a significant decline in opportunities for collaboration. The rumors and gossip spread like wildfire, tarnishing my reputation in the industry. Despite my best efforts to prove myself, the negative perception persisted, making it increasingly difficult to rebuild my professional relationships. The situation became so toxic that I ultimately had to consider seeking opportunities outside of the industry altogether. I tried working as a barista and as a waitstaff. It was such a difficult job. I was being catcalled, and I could not take the dirty stares from men. There was no applause or recognition for the work I did. I had to put in 8 to 10 hours of intense work and get paid in peanuts. I worked much harder than I did when I was a model. I was still getting yelled at, and there were always complaints from customers as I would not let them grab me inappropriately. I was slowly losing my hope, and I could see that there was not much I could do. I just had to endure it for the time being till things cooled off so that I could start working again in the glam industry. I knew that it was going to be tough, but not impossible. I just had to keep being optimistic and fight head-on with the dark path to see the light at the end. I kept motivating myself as there was nothing much I could do to pull through. A few weeks later, I started circulating my portfolio, but was getting rejected as no one wanted to mess with Darius and his family. I had to kiss my career in modeling and acting goodbye thanks to Derek and his jerk of a friend, Darius. He used his family influence to make sure I was not shortlisted by any of his other companies that he did business with. I was furious at both of them for ruining my life. I did not know what to do next in my life. All these days, I motivated myself to pull through, but it was too overwhelming for me to start afresh. I had been modeling since I was 18, and that was the only thing I knew to do in life. A single mistake had ruined my reputation and all the hard work that I had put in to reach here. It was so unfair that just because someone is powerful, they are able to crush me because I slaughtered and tried to use an influential person to climb up in my career. Everybody does that, and it's not a crime. I was just unfortunate to be caught on with the wrong person. But it's not like Derek and his friend are saints. I'm sure they must have done unethical things to get where they are right now. It's frustrating how the consequences of one's mistake can overshadow all the hard work and effort put in. It's a harsh reality that sometimes power and influence can be used against us unfairly. However, it's important to remember that everyone makes mistakes, and nobody is perfect, not even those who seem untouchable. I couldn't believe how quickly my whole world came crashing down because of one error. It was a harsh reminder of the cutthroat nature of the industry, where power and influence can make or break a person's career. In times like these, it's crucial to stay resilient and learn from our mistakes in order to come back stronger. Despite the setbacks, it's essential to keep pushing forward and not let one error define our future success. Thank you all for being a part of my journey. I know that I might not have made the best choices in my life, but I feel like I deserve to have a decent life without being subjected to judgment for flirting with a guy to progress in my career. It was not like I slept with him to get a role. I'm sure that if Derek would have been in my place, he would have taken advantage of the fact that someone could get him a role in a show. I still don't accept the fact that I had done something wrong to get a role. The only thing I did wrong was not letting Derek know about how I had been feeling living with him. Apart from that, I tried everything I could to progress in my career and get out of all the relationships that were sore and rotten. I believe that opportunities should be earned through hard work and talent, not through personal connections. It's important to maintain professionalism and integrity in all aspects of life, including career advancement. Thank you all for being supportive and understanding. I'm not going to give up just because of two jerks. I will pick up my life and show them that I don't need connections or influence to make it big. Thank you again for the courage that you guys give me. Whatever happened to forgive and forget and all that stuff? You know the whole, if you love someone, you would forgive them when they do things that hurt you. I understand that whatever he did was out of anger, but he said he had forgiven me and had also forgotten about everything that had happened. Whatever happened to forgiving all wrongs and moving past everything? Oh, I'm sorry. Here I am rambling about the consequences of my actions when you probably don't even have the slightest clue as to what I'm talking about. Sure, I messed up, but then who doesn't? Plus, he told me that night that he had forgotten and forgiven me. He hugged me and even gave me the best night of my life, so what happened? Here I go again rambling. Now, in case I happen to do it again, which I know I definitely will, let me fill you in on everything that happened so that you would know why I can't seem to understand what is going on. My name is Jane Stevens, and I'm a 38-year-old female and mother who single-handedly dug her own grave, but still can't understand why my baby daddy gets to hold the shovel. Now, before I start rambling again, let me tell you guys a bit about myself, my baby daddy, and how I designed and perfected my own downfall. I didn't think it would get this bad. It was supposed to be over. He said he realized that everyone deserved a second chance. I was born to Mr. and Mrs. Witt. I am their only biological child, although I have 3 older brothers. They were adopted, and it's important that you remember this. We lived in, and to be honest, growing up wasn't so grand, but I never had any reason to complain or anything, but I was always a bit greedy. Too greedy for my age. I always wanted more than my brothers, and being the only girl and biological one at that had its perks. My parents love all their children equally, but my mom worshipped the very ground I walked on, and the other members of the family had no problem with that. I went to the best schools, got the best clothes and toys most kids my age would only dream of. You would think I would be the most happy and grateful child ever, but I was not. I complained at the slightest of things. I always wanted whatever I saw on the TV or saw other kids my age had. My brothers tried to teach me that being content was very important, but I didn't listen to any of them. In addition to my behavior, I hardly did well in school. Now I was not a dumb kid or anything. I just didn't like working for anything, even my grades. I can't count the number of times my parents had been called to my school to discuss my grades with my teachers. They would go, have the talk, come back home and have a chat with me. And although I didn't want to work at all, I was also tired of my parents' constant nagging, so I decided to change my grades from an F to a P. This small but noticeable change was enough to get my parents off my back till I graduated high school. I didn't want to go to college, but after days of nagging, and nagging from my parents, I decided to attend community college. You might think that I decided to have a change of heart after a certain point in my life. Well, I did. A bit. I had to if I wanted to graduate from community college. After that, I got a job as a receptionist at a hotel. I mean, it wasn't the best job in the world, but it was better than being at home while my parents nagged my ears out. It was at my job that I met Brian. He had come to the hotel for a business meeting and had approached me to ask for directions to the conference room. Now, before you start to assume that we had the whole love at first sight thing, we did not. We really did not. You see, I was on my break when he walked up to me and started talking. I didn't hear him initially because I had my earphones on, but I knew he was saying something. I wasn't going to let this stuck up, too rich to be touched, suit-wearing piece of Adams mess up my mood. To be quite fair, I hadn't spoken to him yet, so I didn't really know how he was, but after an encounter I had with a man who lodged in the hotel the previous night, I quickly decided that any man who wore a suit would behave the same way. But I was wrong. I was very wrong. Brian continued to talk, but when he saw that I wasn't even looking at him, he tapped on the bell which was stationed on the counter. He tapped it the first time. I ignored it. He tapped it the second time, but I also ignored it. He then started tapping it continually like a child, and that was when I lost it. "What the heck is wrong with you? Can't you see that I am on my break?" I literally yelled at him. Thankfully, my boss had gone to run some errand because if he had heard me, I was certainly going to lose my job. Brian was stunned by my outburst and stood speechless for some seconds. Then he cleared his throat, adjusted his tie before speaking again in a calmer voice. "Listen, I don't care about you or your break. I have an important meeting I need to attend and present a proposal that could change things for me, and I can't afford to be late. Now, if you don't mind, kindly point me towards the direction of the hotel's conference room, and then you can get back to lazing about. It's not like you can understand things like struggling or working hard to get something." He ended while looking at his watch. To be honest, his words pierced me so much that without thinking, I took my half-drunk hot Starbucks and poured it all over him before getting up and leaving. I guess he reported it because I was fired the next day. I tried to explain to my family that it wasn't my fault, but my brothers wouldn't let me speak. They scolded me so much that I said something I'll always regret no matter how long it takes. I told them that I didn't know why they were so upset. It's not like I got kicked out from my family or abandoned the way their birth parents did to them. I knew I had crossed a line. The entire room fell quiet, and my brothers stared at me for some time before leaving the house. My mom actually slapped me. I actually deserved it, after they left and tried to run after them. Dad didn't say or do anything to me. He just stared at me for a while, then went after Mom. My brothers didn't return home for a whole week, and my parents were so devastated by this that they didn't leave the house. Now, it's very important that I say this. My brothers always knew that they were adopted, and it was very obvious, but given the fact that they had gotten that job for me, and the only way I could show my appreciation was to loose it within a week, and also make reference to them being abandoned was low, even for me. I felt really bad after the fourth day, and I tried calling them, but they wouldn't talk to me. When they finally came back, it was as though we had won the lottery. I apologized, and they forgave me. Plus, they found me another job. Want to know something funny? I blamed everything on Brian. Of course, then I didn't know his name, so I nicknamed him Asterisk Stuck-Up Suit Guy Asterisk. I blamed him for what happened because if he just allowed me take my break in peace or not say all those words he said, I would not have gotten fired or had any reason to lash out at my brothers. If I had my way, I would have done everything remotely possible to avoid Brian till my last breath. But the universe has a mind of its own and had other things planned for me. On a Monday morning, I was scheduled for an interview to work as a secretary at one of the biggest companies in my town. I was really excited because the pay was good, and I would have enough to move out of my parents' house by the end of the year, if I got it. When I arrived there, I was asked to wait at the lobby until my boss arrived. I waited for 20 minutes before being asked to go into a room for my interview. When I entered, I was asked to close the door behind me, and I instantly recognized the voice. I cursed under my breath before turning around to see Brian, but he was going through some files in front of him, so he hadn't seen me yet. As I moved to the seat opposite him, I thought of making a run for it before he saw my face and fake being ill. I thought of so many things I could do to avoid being here, but it was too late. He cleared his throat and looked at me with a smirk on his face. "Who do we have here?" he said while rocking his chair from one side to another. I wanted to wipe that smirk off his face so bad, but I also needed that job, so I kept a straight face and introduced myself. I actually thought he would ask me to leave his office, but he didn't. He was nice and professional all through the interview. To cut the long story short, I didn't get the job. I got a different one, but he said it was because I wasn't qualified for the one I applied for. He had hired me to be his PA. I figured that if I accepted the offer, he would make my life a living hell, and I was about to decline. But when I heard the salary, I stopped in my tracks and actually pinched myself to be sure I wasn't dreaming. Although I didn't like him, I needed the job if I was going to leave my parents' house, so I agreed. I was asked to start work the following week because Brian, stuck-up suit guy, was traveling for a family gathering and wouldn't be back till Sunday. I still can't understand why someone would say one thing and do another. I mean, it's not like I carried another man's baby or anything, so why would he do what he did? I'm sorry that I keep doing this. It's just, I never thought something like this would ever happen to me, but here I am. I would have said something, but I'm not completely innocent, so I'll probably just keep quiet and let you guys be the judge of everything. Now, people of this fine earth, I would not lie to you. Working with Brian was not what I expected. I thought he would be a horrible person. I mean, considering what happened at the hotel, I kind of expected him to milk the situation. But he wasn't. I worked with him for 3 years and I never complained about anything. Neither did I ever get my salary a day late. He was so understanding and caring that I started developing feelings for him. I've never felt this way about a person before, but I couldn't tell him. What if he laughs at me, or worse? What if he fires me? I decided to keep my mouth shut, but then the unexpected happened. I never thought I would ever be caught dead in something like this. I mean, I should have seen it coming, but still, I thought mine would end differently. Guess I was wrong. Now remember, I said that I had this massive crush on Brian but wouldn't tell him. Yeah, I shouldn't have even had in the first place because having it was the blueprint of my end. And want to know what's funny? I literally drew it myself. Now I had worked for Brian for 2 years and the crush only seemed to increase up to the point I would drift off during the day, dreaming about being in his arms and creating memories with him. I had never seen Brian with a girl. He was always with girls. Not girls, and that sort of made me jealous. Jealous that those guys get to spend the night with him while I sleep alone on my cold bed in my lonely apartment. Yes, I finally moved out. I know it sounds weird, but I didn't want to share my man with anyone. Yes, I said it, my man. I was gradually getting obsessed with him, but I didn't mind, and all I wanted was for him to be mine. One day, Brian stayed late at the office, and when I wanted to go and wish him goodnight, I noticed something. He was sobbing and drunk. He was so drunk that he was slurring his words. I couldn't let him drive home in such a state, and to be honest, I wasn't comfortable leaving him alone with an Uber driver, so I decided that I would take him back to my place. It was the closet place from the office, so that the day, he would go back to the office and get his car. While I was helping him to the car, he kept muttering some words. He kept saying things like, why won't she understand that I love her, I see her every day, but she barely recognized me. I didn't know what he was talking about, so I just told him that everything would be fine, and then helped him into the car. When we got to my place, I helped him into the bed, and just as I was about to leave, he held my hand and pulled me close to his face. He looked at me for some seconds before burping in my fave and then slumping on the bed. What? You thought he was going to kiss me and we would loose out minds? Well, I'll loose my own mind if that happened, but sadly, it did not happen. I was disappointed, but I didn't want to take advantage of him in such a state. I mean, I wanted him so badly, but I wanted him to want me as well. I slept on the sofa that night and dreamt about both of us getting busy in a private beach. Too much? Sorry, I always go way above my own imagination. The next, as you can imagine, Brian woke with a hangover and the look terror when he realized that he was in an unknown place, but he calmed down when he saw me. His first action was to look under the sheets to check for his clothes, and funny enough, they were still there. He asked me what happened and if he had done something to me or with me, to which I said no. He thanked me and left. People of this earth, if this was how our story ended, I would have been okay, I guess, but me being me. I secretly wanted more, and when the universe handed me what I want, I took it without being cautious or careful. It was at that point that I had brought the shovels that was used to dig my grave. The following week, Brian's behavior towards me suddenly changed. I mean, he was nice to me before, but it was though he was seeing me in a different light, and to be honest, I loved it. It didn't take long before he asked me out on a date. I happily accepted, and we had the best night of our lives. Well, I know I did, though. Everything was just going the way I wanted it, and I didn't need to think twice when he asked me to be the mother of his unborn kids. I was so happy that I was finally going to be the one he would always come home to, and I was going to have him all to myself. I couldn't wait for the wedding, and most especially the honeymoon phase. He gave me a wedding that would forever stay glued to my mind, and as for the wedding night, let's just say I couldn't get out of bed till noon, and he didn't mind. He made me breakfast in bed, got me my favorite snacks, and honestly spoilt me silly during our honeymoon. He really was the best husband any girl could ask for. Now remember I said it was at this point that I had bought the shovel that I used to dig my own grave? Yeah, it was. You see, after we got back from our honeymoon, things changed. Brian didn't, though. He was still sweet and all, but I just got bored. Yes, you heard me right, I got bored. You remember how I was as a child, right? Always wanting things more than I actually needed? Yeah, that's what I was doing. Now that I had Brian and had finally lived my fantasy with him, I was bored. He suddenly felt plain and just normal. I am not saying that normal is bad or anything, but I wanted flavor. I wanted something to get me all hyped and all, but Brian was not doing anything like that. To make matters worse, he started going on business trips and staying late at the office. Oh, to be clear, I wasn't his PA anymore. I stopped working for him the day he proposed to me. It was my decision, though. I thought since I was engaged to him, I didn't need to work for him anymore. Yeah, I know. That was a dumb decision, but remember, this is the girl who didn't like working in the first place. All those behaviors and habits I had as a child was slowly coming back, and I was gladly embracing it. One day, Brian told me that he was going on a work trip and he was going to stay 3 weeks on the trip. I decided that I was going to use this opportunity to explore and have some fun. Fun. It sounds so innocent, but trust me, it's nothing like that, at least not the type I had in mind. I had no female friends to call up and hang out with, so I decided to move on to my next plan. Tinder. The day Brian left, he had gone to the airport quite early in the morning, so I wasn't able to see him off. I woke up to his usual breakfast in bed with a rose and a note by the side. You looked so peaceful sleeping that I felt that waking you up would be a sin. I'll see you in 3 weeks, babe. Love you. I swore I almost lost my appetite. I'm sorry, but all that lovey-dovey stuff was starting to get to me. I picked up my phone and downloaded Tinder. I spent the next few hours, scrolling left on Tinder. The profiles I kept seeing were just James, 39, had a bio that read, "If you can't handle me at my worst jet lag, you don't deserve me at my best sunset selfie. Swipe right if you're ready for an adventure of a lifetime." Or was it Steve, 42? I admire a woman who gets up before I do and gets the kids ready for school. Like, what the heck is all this? What happened to all the hot men that were looking for adventures and hookups? Obviously. Just when I was about to give up, I stumbled upon the best mistake of my life. Andrew, 30, light-skinned and muscular. He had no bio. Mysterious. I like that. I swiped right, and to my greatest delight, we matched. I sent him a simple hi, and then dropped my phone to go take a shower. When I came back, I saw that I had a notification from Tinder. It was Andrew. He had replied, and after about 45 minutes of flirting, we decided to meet the next day at the house. I thought that it would be safer if we stayed at my place. Just as I was about to drop my phone, I got another notification, and another, and another. My phone was blowing up, and they were all from Tinder. Before I went to bed that night, I had already fixed 3 appointments in the next 3 days and 4 the following week. I was so excited. I was going to experience bliss, something that Brian wasn't giving me any longer. Now, ladies, I will not lie. It was amazing. Honestly, some guys just know how to leave you breathless, but nothing will ever replace the feeling you get when you're with the one you love. Sorry if I'm getting all mushy. Now I had the best 3 weeks of my life, and to be honest, I didn't want it to end. I wanted Brian to call me and tell me that he had to extend his trip, but that never happened. He came home on a Saturday, and I noticed that something was off about him. I couldn't place what it was, but he just seemed out of it. I figured that he was just tired, and I was probably right, because after he ate and slept, he was back to his normal self. I kept on replaying the amazing time I had with my Tinder flings, and boy, oh boy, did I daydream about them a lot. I didn't know that the hole I was digging was almost done. My world was about to come crashing down on me. That day, I was in the restroom when Brian called out to me that he needed my phone to collect the number of the insurance company, and I told him where it was. Now, stupid me forgot to turn off my notifications, hide Tinder, and clear my chat, so as you can imagine, I got a message from one of my Tinder studs, and Brian saw them. He saw all of them. He read everything, and I mean everything, down to how I had told one of them how I wanted to be handled behind closed doors. I was still in the restroom while all this was happening, so the moment I stepped out, I saw Brian sitting down, holding my phone and looking down at it. "Did you find the number?" I asked, still clueless about what was about to unfold. "Who's Andrew?" he asked slowly. My blood froze. I knew that the secret was out. I didn't know what to say, so I just kept quiet and stood there. "Who the heck is Andrew?" he shouted, and I flinched. When I didn't answer, he threw the phone on the bed and lunged towards me, grabbing me by the throat and pinning me to the wall. I didn't even bother pleading to be let go. I accepted my fate, but it was as though he realized what he was doing and let go of me immediately and dashed out of the room. I hadn't seen that side of Brian before, and to be honest, I was scared of him. This all happened a few weeks ago, and Brian still hasn't come home. I tried calling, but he wouldn't pick up. I've left messages and tried to reach his family, but no one has heard from him. I'm still in the house. I deleted Tinder. I just want Brian back. Please. Brian, if you're reading this, please come home. I need you. We need you. Please. I just found out that I'm a few months gone, and I can swear on anything that it's yours, Brian. Please come home. Guys, if there's an update, I'll let you know. Hey guys, it's February 20th, and I am here with an update. It's not a very long one because, honestly, everything happened so fast I still can't believe it happened. Brian eventually came back on the 10th of February. He said he needed time to think, and that he came to the conclusion that everyone deserves a second chance, as long as I promised not to repeat what happened. I did, and that night was magical. I had never seen that side of him, and honestly, I fell in love with him all over again after that night. The next day, everything went back to normal, and it was like there was never a time when he left. On the 13th of February, he said we should go on a Valentine's Day date to celebrate our rekindled love and also our baby. I agreed. On that day, I dressed like I had never dressed before. I actually went shopping earlier that day and also did my hair. I needed everything to be perfect. When I got to the venue, I didn't see Brian, so I called him. He said he was stuck in traffic, but that he would arrive shortly. I went ahead and ordered something to drink. I ordered a Long Island iced tea. 30 minutes later, Brian walked in looking so handsome in a suit, but he wasn't alone. He walked in with a lady who looked stunning, if I'm being honest. When he saw me, he walked over to the table, pulled out a chair for the lady, and when I leaned in to kiss him, he gave me a hug. And not just any hug, a side hug. I was confused, but I didn't want to ruin our special night, so I let it slide. I gently asked Brian what was going on, and what he said next still rings in my head. "This is Tanya. She was the girl I was talking about the day I got drunk and you took me to your place. You see, Tanya and I were meant to be together, but life happened and we couldn't. Then I bumped into her on my last work trip, and one thing led to another, and we ended up spending the night together, though nothing happened. Apparently, I passed out before I could get my shirt undone." Tanya giggled as she said this while I sat transfixed to my chair. I felt so bad that I didn't know how to tell you about it when I came back, but decided I would. But what do you know? The day I decided to tell you was the day I discovered your skeleton. You brought out something that I had locked away for years, and I knew that staying with you would only make it worse, so I left and went to stay with Tanya. She would be moving in tomorrow. He finished before holding Tanya's hand and kissing it. What do you mean?" I asked slowly. "It means I am filing for a divorce and I don't want you anywhere near my house anymore." After he said this, he got up to leave. I held his hand, tears rolling down my cheeks. "What about our baby?" I asked in between tears. "I don't have anything with you. Not a marriage and certainly not a baby," he said before leaving me there. So guys, currently at my parents' place. My parents won't talk to me, but my brothers have been supportive, although they were furious at first. I just signed the divorce papers. I don't know what to say anymore. It's goodbye, I guess.